Hi guys, so I just wanted to talk about a recent experience I had, and I'm going to be talking about some things that some people might find hard to hear, but I just want to be brutally honest. I think honesty is good to have between us. I think if people were more honest, we would find out that we had a lot more in common than we actually think. All of us walk around with a storm of self-hate inside ourselves. For some people, the storm's too powerful. It's the first thing on your mind when you wake up in the morning, and it's so loud that you can't ignore it. We can't talk to other people without it drowning out the conversation, and we can't go outside because we're scared the outside world will add to it. That's the first type of person. The second type are the people who can ignore it. They may seem like happy people, but they're scared. They know that all it takes is a couple bad days and they fall apart. Type 3 are the people who've managed to physically dampen the part of their brain that communicates with the storm. They've shut all the windows and they've closed all the doors, and they sit inside nice and cozy even though the house is shaking. They do this by focusing on the mundane, the small things, a chore or a meaningless task. When you talk to these people, they ask you boring questions and feed off your boring answers. Their thoughts just get smaller and smaller. It's meditation, and it works, because meditation tells you to focus on your breathing, the most mundane thing of all. And to become small is the sacrifice they make for happiness. So we have types 1, 2, and 3, and they're all terrible. But let me tell you about a fourth way. Let me tell you how I opened all the windows and all the doors, and I pushed the storm out into the universe. Let me tell you how I did it. It's hard to remember how far back it all started. Sometimes in the mornings, I like to go for walks before it gets too busy. And every day I would pass this lamppost with a little piece of paper stuck to it with 3 symbols: a sun, a moon, and a ring of dots. Normally I would just walk past it and wouldn't even give it a second thought, but every time I got damaged by the rain, it would be replaced the next day. I wanted to ignore the sign, but something about their lack of effort impressed me. I looked at the symbols again, and something in my head just clicked. It wasn't a picture to be looked at, it was a question. The sun, the moon, and a ring of 12 dots. The year, the day of the month, and the hour. I realized they wanted me to put in a time to meet. 2 days later at 6 a.m., I'm waiting by the post. It's a little bit scary, but my friend is watching from his drone until I give him the signal that it's okay. I stand for about 2 hours in the cold, and it's foggy as hell. Eventually, I realized they wrote a tiny address in the note, so now I'm the late one. The address takes me to an old industrial area with metal grates on all the windows. I look up and my friend's drone is gone, probably lost in the fog somewhere. I find the door, I knock a few times, and then I just walk in. I walk inside and there's nothing. Bare floors, bare walls, not a thing. I walk even further and the whole place is empty. Eventually I get to a small room and there's a woman sitting on the floor. She looks at me like she was expecting me. She walks up to me and she gives me a big hug. And she takes my hands and she holds them. But she doesn't say anything. She just stares at me. It's awkward. I don't know what to say. Am I supposed to say something? Am I failing at this? Was there a password on the note I didn't see? I have to say something. In the end, I just say, I figured out your sign. And then I got really embarrassed. That's an arrogant thing to say. Anyway, so she points to the door behind me and says, "That's the way back to boredom." And then she points to the door behind her and says, "Through that door, you'll feel terrible things. But you'll also feel at peace with the universe." I've been bored plenty of times. It's horrible. So I point to the door behind her. Then the woman says I can't bring any distractions with me. So I call my mom quickly and tell her I'll be gone for a while, and I think she was okay with it. So I hand over my bag and my phone, and we walk into a room with black walls and black floors, and it's completely empty. And I look up, and there's no roof. The woman tells me this is where we'll spend most of our time. I didn't ask what they did in that room, but I guess that they just stared up at the sky. And I was right. There are some other parts of the building where you can sleep if it's raining and you want to get warm, and there's a greenhouse where they grow food. But mostly we just stay in that big empty room and stare up at the stars and the clouds. It's sort of what I would have imagined a prison yard to look like. People pacing up and down the walls, trying not to go crazy. In the first few days I was miserable. I wanted to get up and do something, go for a walk, get some stimulation, and I would mostly just sit in a corner because I wanted to watch the people more than I wanted to look up at the sky. When I looked at them, they were neither happy or sad. They were all just in their own worlds. When it started to rain, they would huddle together and just get rained on. And when it got sunny, they would just lay out and get burnt. None of them have names. But it doesn't matter. Each day they were someone new. One day they could be the guy who did press-ups, and the next day he'd be the guy who runs in circles like a chicken. A few days pass and I'm alone in the room at night. Everyone else is off sleeping or eating, and I have no one to look at. So I look up at the stars like I sometimes do, and the sky is so clear. There must be a blackout, and I can see so many stars. And I'm tired and I'm hungry, but somehow now I'm seeing more than I ever have before. I see so much. I can't describe it. I felt like I saw the universe for the first time. And it wasn't something, it was nothing. And everything that was something didn't matter anymore. I got shivers. And I felt at peace for the first time in my life. From that moment on, they looked at me differently. Somehow they could tell I'd changed. I could see what they see. And we're all here alone, huddled in the rain. So I help grow the plants, and I clean the toilets, and I'm part of the community. Every few days, a tall man with red hair comes in the building and goes to the back room. 3 or 4 people follow him in there and they lock the door. A few hours later, he comes out pushing a cart, and I don't know what's in that cart. And I'm scared to ask anyone because no one's ever mentioned it, but it's like he just comes in and leaves and nobody seems to care. A few days ago, he came in again, and I was staring at him. Before he left, he walks right up to me, and he just stares at me. He stares right through me, like I was worthless. And then he left. And now I can't look up at the stars and find peace. I need to get into that back room.